Hey everyone, welcome back. Mr. Reese here, back with another tooltip slash kind of how-to video. So today I'm going to be talking about assemblies. So at the bottom in any document that you're in, we've been creating new part studios or we've been creating drawings. There is one tab that we've been completely ignoring up until this part, and that is the assembly, right? So typically there's already an assembly there for you. If there's not, you can hit new tab and create a new assembly, and it's just like a regular part studio or drawing. You can always rename it. In this case, I'm just going to call it the basic assembly. It was called basic assembly demo, right? So the way an assembly drawing works, you are going to take parts that you have already created and assemble them or put them together. So if we're making like a box, for example, we could really make one or two walls, maybe like the longer side, a shorter side, and then a top. And we can make all those parts in one document, right, as different part studios. And then in the assembly, we can go to insert, and anything inside that document, right, we'll be able to choose from. So here's a ton of examples that I've used in this document because this is my tooltips document. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a pole and I'm going to put it in a base that has a hole cut out about halfway through for it. So I'm first going to drag my base in, right? And you notice it's highlighted because I just have to place it. So I'm going to place it and then confirm it for a second. Okay, the very first thing I'm going to do, right? Because right now I can still move it. Up at the top are a ton of tools. Now, because we're just going to be talking about a basic assembly, really only going to look at like two, but I'll talk about a couple. So if you look here, it's a mate connector, right? So this is if you want to create a mate connector on or between parts, surfaces, or sketches. Mate connectors are used to locate and orient entities within an assembly mate. So in order to use mates, right, so we have a couple different options for mates. We have fastened, revolute, slider, planar, cylindrical, pin slot, ball mate, and there's a ton of other ones we can use too, right? But you need to use a mate connector to then make whatever kind of mates we're trying to use much easier to do. Now, the one thing that's a little confusing is that you can only use one mate connector at a time, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fasten our part here to the origin. Now, if I hover over the origin, you're going to see that for this mate connector, if I hover over top of it, it gives me three planes. Blue is up and down, green would be horizontally that way, and then red would be that way. So if I go to top, you can kind of see that if I zoom in, right, green's that way, blue straight up and down, red's going to be the other way. So I'm going to put a mate connector on the origin facing straight up, and I'm just going to retitle it as origin. Confirm it. Now I'm going to put another mate connector, and I'm going to put that on this left corner here, and I'm going to keep them in the same orientation, right? Because you can see, depending on what I pick and where I have my mouse, it depends on the orientation of the mate. So because I want this corner and I want this corner standing straight up and down, I'm going to make my mate connector match the same as the origin. And I'll just call this origin because that's what I'm going to end up connecting. So I'm going to use fasten, and a fasten connector is just going to attach the two and not be able to move. So once I click fasten, I can either click on the two mate connectors I want to fasten, or I can go click origin, origin, and now you see that it puts it there. So if I recall this origin again, confirm it, that square that I was now able to move at first, I'm unable to move now. So I always typically like to try to put those, my first part at the origin, so this is not going to move on me, especially if I'm just fastening things together, which for the most part, that's what we're going to use. Then I can insert the other entity I want. I'm going to put in the pole, confirm it. I'm going to do another mate connector, and this time I'm going to put it on the bottom of the hole. So right now, you can kind of see I can do the top of the hole. I can also do the bottom. I want the bottom center of the hole, okay? And I'll just call it hole, confirm it, zoom out. I'm going to put another mate connector. This time I'm going to put it on the bottom, and I'm going to make it an orientation that I want. So blue's facing down. I'll again call this hole. Okay, now I want to use the fasten mate again. I can click on both of those, Make connectors. Quote all. Confirm it. Now my part is connected and I cannot bring them apart. Now, if you're in the assembly, you can certainly go to whatever studio you needed, right? Whatever part studio you needed, and you can edit the appearance. You can change some dimensions. The assembly is essentially a live version. So if I go to edit appearance just to show you, and I change my transparency, confirm it, and now go back to assembly, it updates so you can see through that part, so you can actually make sure that everything is where it's supposed to be. As you get into more complicated parts that you're trying to put together, being able to see through things is very, very helpful. Now, we certainly could talk more about a revolute mate, where if I were to mate these two together, I'd be able to spin a part. It just wouldn't be able to move from where it is. It's going to be fixed in location, but be able to spin. Slider, it'll be fixed to a part, but able to slide in and out. A planar mate, cylindrical mate, pin slots, they all have different purposes and when you want to use them. But this is just a basic assembly using mate connectors and the fasten mate. All right, I hope that helps. See you in the next video.